Good evening, everybody. So we had talked about the Stone Age in the previous video, if you recall, and we were talking about some of the developments of the Stone Age, which actually ties nicely into this video. So in this video, we're going to be covering some of the chronology of the Bronze Age, as well as the chronology of Egypt, and we're going to be looking predominantly at the development of the wheel, as well as the development of writing. We're going to be focusing on the wheel. So throughout this course, we're going to be having several important developments for medicine. Writing itself was developed in this area before anywhere else in the world, and then it's believed to have developed independently elsewhere. Writing is. So we're gonna be seeing advances in medicine, advances in knowledge, algebra, mathematics, all sorts of things across the Middle East. So jumping into the wheel, it's ultimately, it's unclear exactly when the wheel was invented, but first we'll just go over some chronology. So from roughly 4,500 to 3,300 is the Copper Age, and this is after the Stone Age. And then we get into the Bronze Age, and the Bronze Age is subdivided into the Early Bronze Age from around 3,300 to around the year 2,200 BC. And then from 2200 into 1550 is the Middle Bronze Age. And then we get into later periods in history. But so going back to the wheel was important for a bunch of things, not just transportation, obviously, but also for the development of things like pottery wheels, and the like. So the wheel, the wheel was developed. We're not sure if it was developed independently or if they copied the idea, but it was developed in India and in China and in Mesopotamia. And the earliest evidence we have for the wheel, it comes from Mesopotamia around the year roughly 4,000. Okay. And so the wheel's been around for a long time, and it may have been invented in the Stone Age. Same thing with writing, actually. It may have been invented in the Stone Age, but it's not believed. So the common narrative on writing is that it developed around the 4th century BC, the 4th millennia BC, and that it was developed in both Egypt and Mesopotamia at this period. So by the 4th millennia BC, we have writing. We're not sure which one came first, but we have hieroglyphics in Egypt and a form of writing in Mesopotamia, respectively. And the reason for the writing is to believe that it was kind of a boring reason, and it's just taxation and record keeping. So it's believed that as people started moving to the cities, and they started having more complicated trade and agriculture and all that, they needed a way to tax people and a way to keep records, and that's believed to be the reason for the development of writing. And then, of course, obviously, with Hammurabi, we'd get into the first recorded law code and the development of laws, which can actually be written down as opposed to just passed down orally. So that would be important in the future as well. And then also talking about time periods, we have Egypt, which we have prehistoric Egypt, and then I'm going to be reading to you the commonly accepted time frame for Egypt. We have the early dynastic period from 3100 to 2686 BC. And then we have the Old Kingdom from 2686 to 2181 BC. And then we have the Middle Kingdom from 2134 to 1782 BC. I'm sorry, the Middle Kingdom. I think I said new. And then we have the New Kingdom from 1550 to 1069 BC. And you'll notice there's differences. There's gaps in the time period, which are just all the intermittent periods. And there's actually an intermittent period after the New Kingdom as well, after 1069. And then after the intermittent period, we have the Greek period, or Hellenistic period. So that covers Egypt, and that kind of coincides, obviously, with the Bronze Age. So we're going to be after this video, we're going to be looking from more of a state-to-state perspective, or a kingdom-to-kingdom, rather than strictly the chronology. So I just wanted to talk about the chronology briefly in this video. And also, going back to the wheel really quickly, the chariot was developed in the mid-Bronze Age, from around 2200 to 1550, is sometime in there is when we get the first chariot, and it may surprise you to know that it wasn't the Egyptians who invented the chariot, it was someone in Mesopotamia. And then the Egyptians copied the idea, and they kind of made it their own with archery, using archers on it. All the other civilizations may have been doing that as well. And then, of course, the scythe chariot. So the Egyptians kind of modified it and made it their own, but they didn't invent the chariot. So I discovered that a while back, but I was initially surprised and kind of taken aback because Egypt is so synonymous with chariot warfare. And then we'll be getting to the first battle in recorded history, which is the Battle of Megiddo or Armageddon. It's actually the first recorded battle. So we'll be talking about that, and we'll be talking about various battles of Egypt. And so next time we'll be jumping into Egypt first, and then we'll be talking about some other kingdoms in the area. So thank you for watching, and hopefully you learned something.